The P-47N used to be some of the biggest trash in the game. Now the F-47N gets added as a premium, and after about 5 to 6 years they finally changed the flight model. And it makes perfect sense, because otherwise they wouldn't have sold any of them. The P-47N, the one you're seeing on the screen, as well as the other one in the American tech tree, got a weight reduction by about 300 kilograms, which is pretty big for a prop. And the engine got tuned a little bit. It is now worse below 2 kilometers, at least in the engine department. Luckily it is slightly offset by the weight change, so it's not too much worse. So overall the P-47N has been buffed quite a decent margin. Like, it's still not incredible, but it's better than it was, which is really not that high of a bar. And then we have the 5.7 P-47M from Michael. And that thing got hit by a hammer a little bit. They share the same engine, it's a lot lighter, but it doesn't have any benefits for the change. So it now also climbs worse at low altitude, and it's slightly better and faster at high altitude. But the main issue is going to be the fact that it's nerfed at low altitude. It was already kind of bad at it. Not so much that it's terrible, it's just super uncompetitive. And the main issue here is, especially with the Nico version that you're seeing on the screen, which I will be talking about today, it takes you forever to become competitive. This thing is an absolute boat. The only thing it's really good at is being fast and being above people. The issue is that this plane struggles quite hard to get above people. You only have about 12 minutes of web, and you're gonna need about 6 minutes to reach 6 to 5 kilometers. And by that time, the game is already over. Very often you'll find yourself at 5 to 6 kilometers. It's either 1v6 or your team has already won. And there's just very little you can do. You can tell here that I'm trying to outrun the C205. And I will be able to outrun him. It's just going to take me forever. So I'm going to use the one strength of this plane when it doesn't come to high altitude performance. And that is the high speed maneuverability. And with the weight change, it's actually pretty nimble at high speed now. Unfortunately, it's still a beluga wheel and it's going to piss away all your speed in a single turn. Here I'm trying to bait the C205 towards a Yak 3, but the Yak 3 just fucks off to Narnia. He just doesn't give a shit. So I hit him with the hello. And I get his thought process. The BF-109 is the highest player, but we can easily kill this guy and then go for the BF-109. So I kind of hit him with the, you're fucking kidding me. I'm losing my shit here, I'm sorry, but this plane was really testing my sanity. And I'll get into that in a minute. We are gonna try and force a high speed fight. So I turn in, because I see the C205 turn away. We have a little bit of distance now, and I'm gonna put this into a dive. Now the C205 also has pretty decent high speed maneuverability, but is nowhere near as good as this thing. Now the issue is that if I miss this shot, I am boned. And this guy is actually playing it somewhat okay. He breaks off, but he breaks off at a very inopportune moment. And because of that, I'm able to instantly pull into the shot. So we set him on fire, and now we're on his 6. I'm not gonna break off and let him live, because that engine fire, if I let him hammerhead me, I am dead. So I'm just gonna try to get some more shots in. I'm just trying to put pressure on him so he doesn't get the shot as fast. And you can tell, well, it is still going to be pretty close, and this guy is all kinds of dead. So we get just over his guns, and then his wing falls off. I hope you realize how close that was. And keep in mind, he was already dead. And he still almost killed me. Now imagine if I didn't hit that shot. So the main issue with this plane, and the reason I was absolutely losing my marbles, is simply just how annoying it is to get footage in this thing. Because you climb to altitude, no one is at altitude, or one guy just chases you and it takes you forever to kill one dude, then it's 1v6 and they're all on the deck. And on the deck this thing is absolutely abysmal. It is not that this plane is completely dog shit. It is actually pretty good at what it does. The issue is, what it does is something that you cannot force in the current Era B matchups. It doesn't happen. You never fight at high altitude. You never have a teammate that actually helps you out, like Mr. Zero Gang and his Yak 3 over here. It is abysmally annoying to fly. Now, if you are in a squad, if you are gonna rock like 2 or 3 of these things, it can be pretty good. The issue is that basically any plane that has a little bit of performance is going to be pretty good in a 3-man squad if you all play it to its strengths. So this is not really mutually exclusive to this vehicle right here. If you are a solo player, if you are not a die-hard veteran or like a P-47 enjoyer, do not buy this thing. Just grind for the P-47 D30 in this tech tree. It is infinitely better than this thing is, and it's a lot more fun to fly. Now P-47s were not really inherently meta anyway. And this thing really turns it up a notch. It just specs everything into high altitude performance. It specs everything in that high speed compression. And unfortunately, that's just how you make a non-meta plane. Everything that is important, it doesn't have. Everything that's kind of gimmicky, it has. So overall, this plane isn't completely trash, but in the current sandbox and meta, it kinda is. Now here we are arriving at 6 kilometers. Now we had to turn out once because the entire team was at altitude as well. Keep in mind that I've been climbing continuously since the start of the game. Look at the tickets and I just hit 6 kilometers. So basically, in order for me to become a little bit more competitive, the game is already like halfway down on tickets. The teams are already falling apart, and this right here is why this plane is so damn annoying. And I have another game after this that shows you exactly that. And it just takes you forever to get in position, and by the time you are in position and you start engaging people, you have to pray that they don't all just dive to the deck because you're the last alive and they don't want to chase you. They start ground pounding and you lose on tickets. Now I want you to look at the timer. You can see 18 minutes left, and all I did was hit 6 kilometers. Now we are going to be engaging the P-47N that's in a squad with the VB10 and another P-47N that's directly next to him. Now which one are we going to be engaging first? In this plane you really don't want to sacrifice your altitude. Of course you can maintain it somewhat, but it's very slow and it takes forever to keep it, and you are going to be playing so passively that you are going to be falling asleep. So right now I don't really want to engage this P-47N. But he's also making it so enticing that I'm kind of forced to. Because if I don't kill him right here, it's going to be a 2v1. And in the long run, this is going to be a super long fight if it turns into a 2v1. A 1v1, you kind of handle if you have some energy. But 2v1, this thing is dead in the water. So we get some shots in, we set him on fire, we get a severe. And now I'm going to use my energy here to straighten out, pitch up ever so slightly, deter this guy from the head-on. I just don't want him to full send it on me. I'm going to be full sending it on him. But I want to keep my energy a little bit, and we got some hits in. Now he is going actually a bit faster than us, so I'm going to be actually able to turn in here. This is something I don't recommend you to do, but because of the position and the ability that he gave me with his wrong turn, I just slotted in behind him and I'm now going to be shooting him down. Now the G2 will absolutely rinse me at low altitude, so I really need to kill him, but I'm having a very hard time getting shots on him because he's actually somewhat maneuvering. Now we finally take the plane apart and then we break off and get ourselves a little bit of altitude. Why? Because if you don't, you die. Incredible how that works, isn't it? So we have 3 enemies left. We have a Spitfire, we have a VB10 and another Spitfire, and honestly, at this point I wasn't really feeling it. Now the 2 P-47Ns went down to the hangar, which now means that we are the highest guy in the lobby and we are able to somewhat boom and zoom reliably. The issue is that, well, they are kind of ground pounding. The tickets are gonna get a little bit low and I need to kind of get a move on. And that's an issue. Because me going to the deck is going to render my plane basically useless. So even though that VB10 is across the map and he is climbing, it means that I still have to climb all the way across the map. Now if you watched more of my videos, you know that very often I will dive on the guy directly below me to just kind of kill the numbers so I don't end up in a 1v2. With this plane, the 1v2 isn't even the biggest issue, even though I just complain about it with the T2 P-47Ns. You need an energy advantage, and luckily for us, one of the Spitfires manages to fuck it into a tree. So now we only have the VB-110, or the VB-10 across the map, and the Spitfire directly below me. Now, do I want to engage the Spitfire on the deck and then end up below the VB-10? Definitely not, because right there is the reason why. He is climbing, he's getting altitude, and his climb rate at this altitude is actually a bit better than us. Now sure, that plane isn't all that fantastic, but it does have good guns, it is decently maneuverable, and overall, at low altitude, that thing might actually just kill me, other than the fact that I'm faster than him. So I need to be a little bit careful here, so I'm gonna be maintaining my climb. I don't want to climb super slowly, because I want to have some speed to get into this fight. I want to be able to dodge the head-on, stall him out, and then see if I can get a solution on him. I don't want to go slow in this thing. Even right now, it is not advisable to climb at your optimal speed, end up at like 300 in the merge, because then you need to dive into him, and the acceleration of this thing just really isn't it. Now the VB10 dove a little bit, and he's gonna actually continue to dive. I'm not sure if he did it because he saw that I'm above him and he wants to drag me to a low altitude where this plane is less competitive. I'm not sure what this guy is doing, or maybe he's just trying to build up a lot of speed so he can pitch up into me and surprise me like that. But now the VB-10 is actually at low altitude and I'm able to pounce on him. And that's exactly what we are going to be doing. Now I do want to keep my eyes on that Spitfire, because if that Spitfire rocks up, I'm going to have a little bit of an issue. But the VB-10 does see me. He is kind of ground pounding. I think he just tries to win on tickets. And we are going to do a very slowly and subtly pitch on over. And then I notice that he goes horizontal below me. He burns a lot of speed doing that. And I have a lot of speed to just pull in. So now I'm directly on the 6. I'm a lot quicker. And I'm just going to be spraying my 850 cals. He slams it into the ground. Now I just hit him with the... Wow, incredible. But it turns out he actually did it on purpose. And he thought that he kind of fucked me over by not giving me the kill. In reality, he just won me the game by not turning this in a 2v1. Because if I had to fight that VB-10 for like 5 to 10 more seconds, and we got a little bit slower, I probably would have died. Because I thought that this Spitfire was still ground pounding. Now, personally, I could have put it into a little bit of a climb. But I decided to go a little bit quicker, use my speed to merge with this guy. Now, this is not the smartest thing you can do, but he is so slow that I feel like I can actually try to get away with this. Now, I'm also having a bit of fun, and this is not a fight that I should win. And before you start saying the only reason you call this plane bad is because you're trying to dogfight Spitfires in it. No, because I still end up winning this fight. Now, we are just above him. We have enough energy to like stall him right here. So we go up over his nose, we drop the flaps. I also know that we have a teammate coming in, so I'm just trying to get this guy slow. At no point in time was I actually trying to win this dogfight. I was just trying to get this guy slow so that my teammate can very easily kill him. Now we get some hits in. We pull the flaps slightly in again, but we need all the lift we can get to actually pull into these shots. And you can tell with the flaps, even though I have 0 energy, the airframe has a lot of lift and I'm able to kind of hang with the Spitfire. Now the Spitfire played this not ideally and I did win it through his inexperience. But I just wanted to show you that the P-47 can actually float and turn quite okay with the flaps. Now don't use them too much. Keep in mind that you don't have a very powerful engine, or at least for the frame. Like it just weighs as much as a beluga will. Of course the engine itself produces quite a bit of power, but the power to weight just isn't there, especially at like super low altitude like that fight right there. But we came into the fight with 600 kilometers an hour. The Spitfire was maybe going 350, and that is the only reason I even tried to stick it. I love clouds, but this map right here with the sunset and the kind of atrocious spotting system actually is going to make this plane somewhat flyable. Now this is ideal scenario where people mostly don't see you. You come in from an angle that you already like firmly planted on their 6, and then you have 4,000 rounds of 50 cals, which means that you can just spray everyone to death. Now this Viel-Per-Mursky kind of gamed on me. He really used the clouds there and got directly on my ass. We are going to be dodging him. Almost got slammed by the 20 mil. But luckily we are quite a bit quicker. And we are going 670 kilometers an hour right now. So I'm going to put it into a straight line for a bit. Get a bit of distance. It does hold the speed quite decently. Because it is a fast plane of course. But we need to start putting this energy into altitude again. Because I don't want to sit at 1700 meters. I want to sit at 6 kilometers, but the fight just doesn't happen up there, so I am forced to go down to an altitude where this plane isn't really competitive. Because right now, my team still exists. I know that the spotting is kind of bad, so I'm praying to the fact that these people don't see me and I can come in and just kind of pick them off. So we are going to dive on the first guy. It's the Viel-Per-Mursky from a little bit earlier. He is turning in, he's busy with someone else, which means that we can just miss a shot. Yes, it doesn't really compress, but at 750, you're still gonna have a little bit of compression. Now again, we're gonna put it into a shallow climb. We're just gonna get away from that blob, and once we are far away enough, we are gonna put it into a climb. Now I see the P-51 in front of me. Now he already has himself covered with a guy on his ass. So instead, I'm just gonna put it into a climb, and I only get about 1200 meters out of that dive after I was going 700. Keep that in mind. Yes, I was going a bit steep, but I am forced to be a bit more aggressive because that's just how water plays. I cannot play this plane exactly by the book. If you do, you are going to get absolutely nothing done. Yes, you might not die a lot then, but you're also not going to be getting a lot of kills. At least if you play it like that solo with a lot of randoms in your lobby. You can play it by the book, but you are going to be needing someone that actually covers your ass. If you don't have that luxury, don't try to play it by the book. In reality, just buy the Key 84. And I can already hear the comments saying that I can only fly dogfighters or I only like dogfighters. Completely untrue. The Hornet Mark III is one of my favorite props in the game. Why? Because it has energy, and I like energy trapping people. I don't need a good turn rate. I like out-turning people with a worse turning plane just because I can produce more energy and just stall them out. And for the last time, basically with this plane, there is a way that you shouldn't play it. Because it's bad at low speed, it's bad at low altitude, it's bad at turn fighting, it's bad at being aggressive. But it's exactly what War Thunder needs a plane to be. And that's my verdict. It simply just doesn't fit the meta. Now here we have a Yak 3 and we have a bit of altitude on him. We are also going quite a bit quicker. Now the Yak 3 is dogfighting the I-185 and that I-185 is never gonna be winning against the Yak 3. There he goes, he actually slams it into the ground. But we are going about 600 and I'm gonna dive on this guy right here. And this guy has no idea that I'm there and I just kind of whiff my shots. Now that is a skill issue. I should have pulled my mouse a little bit more. I thought I was compressing slightly less, so I just didn't pull enough lead. But we have enough energy here to just kind of get away from him. Now keep in mind, look at my energy. 1200 meters, 350 kilometers an hour, and I'm not really that far away from him. If this takes me like 2 or 3 more turns, I die. Now luckily, this guy pitches straight up for us, so I go horizontal for a little bit to just make sure that I don't keep stalling, get a little bit of separation. And then I just drop the flaps and pull straight down on him. Now again, if I do this 1 or 2 more times, I'm gonna be out of energy. So I'm kind of forced to dogfight the Yak 3 right here and now. Luckily, I have a decent amount of energy. We go 500. We're gonna pull up over his nose. We're gonna sit behind him. And then we pull straight back up. Now luckily he goes down because he realizes that he's not gonna be winning that. And because of that, I end up directly on his ass. We get the first hit in. He starts turning horizontally. I'm trying to get the shot in. It's very floaty in these kinds of shots. But we set him on fire. And we kill him. And we return the favor in the chat. As you always do when people talk shit for no reason. F-47N, plane of the patch. And I'm gonna include this part. Normally I cut it out, especially with a vehicle like this. Because the climb rate is so abysmal at low altitude. But I want you to just kind of struggle through it with me. Now the first choice here that I make, because this thing takes forever to climb, is that I'm not actually going to be landing. Because in the time that it takes me to get back to the runway, then land, repair, take off, get to altitude, I'm gonna be a hell of a lot lower than if I just keep climbing right now. It has enough fuel, it has enough ammo. The only thing that it does lack is WEP. Without WEP, this thing is absolutely dead in the water. The D30 has more power of WEP than this thing. It is kind of tragic. And keep in mind that the D30 is a lot lighter than you as well. So we are gonna try to keep climbing without WEP. I'm a little bit slow right here, but I'm really just trying to get every ounce of altitude out of it. So I'm just climbing on my side of the map. And I'm really trying to not run into anyone. Now after a minute of climbing, and you can tell by the fuel gauge I had to cut out something because I'm tapping out and the screen freezes. After like a minute, we reach from 400 meters, we reach 1.5 kilometers. And this just takes forever. Now we need to climb a little bit quicker. I need to be at about 280 to 290 IAS. And we are going to lower it to that, or higher it to that right now. And there's 2 enemies left, or 3 actually, I'm not really sure. We have an F4U, we have a Pure Mursky. And then I think we have another F4U. There he is, that's the first one. And now I'm at 1.5 kilometers. I'm still not really feeling that great. But I need to get a little bit of speed in this thing. Because if I get caught out going like 300 or 280, I'm actually just dead. It's actually impossible to do anything in this thing. I'm still going to try to climb a little bit. I need to get more altitude, I need to get higher. The thing is that these guys are likely going to be at a super low altitude themselves. And because of that, I don't really need to be at like 4 to 5 kilometers to be competitive. I just need to be a little bit faster than them. And I need to be above them. So I have a feeling that I don't need to climb as steeply. And then I notice that there's no one really around. So I feel like I need more altitude. I want to go to about 3 kilometers. And then my teammate here pops out his blind hunt. And I see a Spitfire on roughly the same altitude. And I can do a few things here. I can climb away from him. And I can try to get altitude. The issue is that the Spitfire, if he keeps climbing behind me, will actually catch me in the long run. Now yes, I will be able to outrun him. But if he gets above me, it is over. So I actually want to engage him as quickly as possible. But right now, the energy difference is probably the biggest that it's going to be. So I'm gonna dive a little bit to pick up some speed, to dodge the head-on a little bit easier, and to get within range. And I'm just gonna be absolutely hosing this guy. I want this guy to die. I need this guy to die. And that's exactly what we do. We just shoot half our ammo load in the head-on, a few 50 cals find his engine, and he gets sent to the Shadow Realm. And yeah, in head-ons this thing is incredible. 850 cals, 4,000 rounds. The thing is a flying tank. You're probably going to win the trade. I, of course, am not a very big advocate of that. I really don't like trading. I don't like taking hits, because I feel like that's mostly down to luck. But with this thing, I feel like I'm kind of forced to sometimes, because you don't really have many opportunities other than just running away. And I think that's incredibly boring, and it's incredibly boring to watch. It's incredibly boring to do, and it's incredibly boring to fight as well. The issue is, and I've said that quite often in this video now, it is just kind of annoying for everyone involved. Yeah, being faster for some people is fun, but you are just running to run basically, because you're not really getting the advantage unless you climb to like 7 kilometers and then try to energy trap them. Because that is a valid tactic. You can just climb to like 6 kilometers with someone on your 6 by maintaining like 500 IAS, and it will take you like 6 minutes to get up there. But if they follow you up, you absolutely rinse them, which is kind of funny. The issue is that it takes like 5 to 6 minutes to get up there, and then by the time you are about to kill them, guess what they do? They realize they are outmatched most of the time, and they just dive to the deck. And now you have to basically start from scratch, because now he's at low altitude. You get to make like 2 or 3 passes on the dude, and guess what? The energy is equalized. It's incredible, I know. So we have the 190 that has the blind hunt on him, and I'm gonna be using him as bait. I'm gonna be marking him for him so he knows that, well, the enemy is coming in. There he is, the Corsair. We saw the dot. Try to warn the 190, but I don't think he's really paying attention. Luckily, the FU is also just not paying attention, so we are able to just kind of spray him down. And on a map like this, with this kind of setting, where the spotting distance is severely reduced, yeah, you can get away with it, but what plane couldn't do this? What plane can't just stay, well, like at a medium speed and then dive on someone that doesn't see you? This is not inherently a trait of a good plane. The nice thing is that you are able to aim it at basically any speed, and that you have a lot of guns. And in that way, the third party mobile is pretty strong. But don't try to get caught out, because you are gonna be suffering from it. Now I'm looking for another dot. I see dot number 2 here, the pure Muskie from earlier. And he is going very slow. We are going 450, and you can tell by the wing vapors that he's basically stalling out. We just commit in the head-on, he tries to dodge, he's way too slow to actually dodge that. And we just spray him out of the air. Now what he should have done, and it's something that I don't advocate very often, is actually try to head-on me. Because at that point he was actually so slow that he couldn't dodge me at all. And dodging him basically just gives me a free angle. If he shoots back at me, I am forced to dodge. He can then force me into a dogfight. And there's a pretty decent likelihood that he simply slams me out of the air. Now the last FU kind of tries to pitch up for me. I notice him in time. He gets some hits in. We pitch on behind and over him, but he's already dead. He is completely disabled. I don't mean in the brain. I mean the plane is just completely crippled, and he is going to be dying. And that's all I have for you today. I hope I painted a clear picture. I didn't try to rip on it as bad as I normally do. I did try to give it like some kind of leeway, but this plane just doesn't fit the current meta. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you all for watching, and you'll see me all in the next one with, again, not a top tier video.